Cruise news time. Well, wow, exciting story. There is coming up in just a few weeks. There's going to be a whole glut of vaccinated passengers that can jump on cruise ships in the United States. I think we're about to see cruising demand go way up. Also, I got the question yesterday. I showed you guys our room steward, Moose, excellent dude. People are saying, well, did you tip that guy any extra than the predetermined or assigned gratuities? Yes, I did. Guess how much? You can put that in the comments. Plus, I got a little pile of cruise news. Cruise news. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Lido, Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news updates. Well, it's the 15th of October. It's a Friday. Happy Friday. Look, I know a lot of people don't watch the show on Friday. I assume that people watch the show at work and maybe they're off doing stuff for the weekend. But if you're here, dag nabbit, I'm dang happy that you're here. I'm trying to use as many D words as I can today. But yeah, a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. I'm really excited about the first story. And then also, let me give you a quick story time. I was on the elevator yesterday going down to deck 4 to the casino, and there was a couple getting off at deck 5 going to get off at customer service because they needed to remove their gratuities, and they wanted to do it before customer service was inundated with people. And it brought up the old weird feeling for me about the removing of the gratuities. And so I'm going to answer the question, how did I tip on this cruise? And I'm interested to see how you guys live this out in your own life. But first, let's talk a little bit about the cruise. Well, before that, hold on. Wait a minute. Put a little love in it. All right, I'll put a little love in it. One of the reasons that we moved to Florida in the beginning of 2020, January 2020, was to be near family. Jenny's mom lives here. But the other reason we moved here was to be near the cruise ports. And so when we moved here, boom, everything shut down. And so we had yet to really realize, we've been on one cruise before the shutdown, but we really yet to realize the dream of just being able to jump on a cruise in Florida and get there and get home real quickly. Well, that just happened. The disembarkation process, super easy on Mariner of the Seas this morning. We carried our own luggage off. We left our cabin at 7:45. We got all the way through customs and out to the curb. We caught an Uber. We made it over back to our car at the Country Inn of Suites, which is just really right across the street from the cruise terminal by 8:18 a.m. We got caught in some traffic, but even with that happening, we were home by 11 a.m. How sweet is that? That's what I'm talking about. No flying all day, no driving all day. Boom. Cruise port, back to La Lido Loca headquarters so we could talk cruise news. That's exciting. All right, cruise news, November the 8th. The date has finally been announced. A couple months ago, it was teased by the U.S. government that we would be opening up U.S. borders for international travelers so that we could have some international traveler tourism or international travelers over here for whatever reason. And we finally have a date, November the 8th, fully vaccinated international travelers from most countries. There were countries that were being restricted, the Schengen countries, China, the UK, nobody could travel here. Canada border was closed, all that stuff. That is now opening up on November the 8th, both from air and from sea and from land. You can now ferry to the United States. You can come across a land crossing. You can fly in. You have to be fully vaccinated. Now, interestingly, to fly in from a foreign country, you still need a negative test 3 days prior to your flight. But if you're coming across the land crossing, if you're coming from Canada across the U.S. border, you just have to show your proof of vaccination and you do not need a test. And so this is big news, great news for U.S. tourism. I saw a number like multi-billion-dollar number of lost tourism by not having foreign international travelers come in for tourism. And this is certainly the case for cruising. I went on MSC a couple years ago for the very first time, MSC Seaside, and one of the things that was notable about that cruise was that the passenger mix between U.S. passengers and international passengers, more so than any other cruise I'd been on. I feel like it was getting close to 50-50. There were people from all over the world on that MSC cruise, and so it really opened my eyes at that time that there was a diversity in U.S. cruising, not only of U.S. passengers, but also international passengers. And so this is a big deal. And again, fully vaccinated to get into the U.S., this will line up very well with a lot of cruise lines' current policies. policies. I just got off of a cruise where you had to show proof of vaccination. A lot of people say, well, what was your cruise like? Well, I had to wear a mask everywhere except for special areas that were designated for vaccinated people only. So my dining time was vaccinated only. I did not have to wear a mask in the main dining room. The show I went to was vaccinated only. I did not have to wear a mask in the theater. And then the casino all the time on that cruise ship was vaccinated only. So anytime that I was in the casino, I did not have to wear a mask. And of course, you don't have to wear your mask on the outside decks or in your cabin. And so, yeah, it's that kind of world right now. And now there's going to be more vaccinated passengers that are able to come. There's still some questions as to whether there will be exemptions or what exemptions will there be for underage travelers who cannot be vaccinated. Will there be an exemption process to let kids into the country? That will still come out, but the official date has been marked. November the 8th, international travelers coming back to the U.S. This will be a big boon for U.S. tourism. This will be a big boon for the cruise space. You got to keep an eye on it, though. Again, we saw a scenario a few weeks ago where MSC was only accepting certain passengers, and we got to just got to make sure that if you're international traveler, I'm glad you're coming. Just make sure that the cruise line that you're cruising on is ready to accept you. That's your homework. But how about that? This is a big sign. This is a good sign that the U.S. is feeling comfortable enough to open their borders. Hopefully that means we're on the downward spiral here, and some of these other restrictions like testing and possibly masking will go away. Have you put a guess in? How much did I tip my room steward on top of the already assigned gratuities that I prepaid? Have you made your guess? Big cruise news story number two. Cruising is returning to Tampa. That's right. I'm over here on the west coast, the nature coast of Florida. The closest cruise port to me is the port of Tampa. And finally, cruising is returning to the port of Tampa tomorrow. Royal Caribbean, thank you so much. Serenade of the Seas will be paying passengers and taking them somewhere. I don't even know where it's going. I'm sure it's going possibly down to Cozumel or going to Nassau. It doesn't matter. It's going to the Caribbean. And we know that, and we're excited about that. Serenade of the Seas, smaller cruise ship. That's a challenge for the port of Tampa. You can only take a certain size cruise ship because there's a bridge that they have to go under. But a small ship is better than no ship. Now, there will be other cruise ships that return to the port of Tampa, but Royal Caribbean, the first one out of the gate. I say bon voyage and happy travels to everybody cruising tomorrow. Are you cruising out of Tampa tomorrow? Leave a comment below. Cruise news story number 3, very similar to cruise news story number 2. Let's talk about JAXPORT. Do you know what JAXPORT is? It is the port of Jacksonville, Florida. It's another port here in Florida yet to really get going with the cruise restart. This is traditionally a cruise port that's used by Carnival cruise lines, and they've already said that they're not going to start back up there until February 2022. That was a bummer. That was devastating news for Jacksonville. They thought they would get cruising back sooner. However, they were able to test out their new protocols at the cruise terminal there in JAXPORT with an interesting stop from a new kind of cruise ship that originated in Nassau, Bahamas. The new Ocean Explorer from Vantage Deluxe World Traveler made a one-time port of call there at JAXPORT on Wednesday. This is a small ship, 54 passengers from the U.S., originating in Nassau and making port stops at U.S. cities. So this is like a Caribbean cruise in reverse. You start out in the Caribbean and then you go up the East Coast to different U.S. cities, I guess, to explore the city. So that's kind of an interesting, one-of-a-kind expedition type deal. I'm interested to learn more about what's going on with Ocean Explorer, but the big story is they did stop at JAXPORT, and JAXPORT was able to test out their new health protocols. They were able to demonstrate what they've done in the light of the pandemic, coming back from the pandemic, really able to raise their hand and go, all right, we're ready. Come on, man, let's start cruising from Jacksonville. Not the restart that Jacksonville would like, but a little restart nonetheless. Can't wait till there's more cruise ships going to JAXPORT. Did you hear what Carnival did? Look, I'm going to tell you, but first let me quickly invite you to subscribe. If you like staying up to date with everything that's going on in cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these shows. Here's the value proposition. I'm going to give you a show on a daily basis. If you hit the subscribe button, YouTube will let you know when the show is live. It sounds like a good trade, and it helps me out. Please subscribe with the notification bell on. Well, this is what Carnival did. One thing that hit me like a ton of bricks during the shutdown, and it was helped, the bricks were helped on my head by cruise director, Flying Scotsman Chris Williamson, is he did a fundraiser for St. Jude during the shutdown. And every cruise that Carnival Cruise Line does, they have an event where they raise money for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So think about that. For the whole time that cruising was shut down, week after week, multiple cruise after multiple cruise, there was no fundraising for St. Jude. We participated in some fundraising with the Flying Scotsman Chris Williamson, raised a little bit of money for St. Jude earlier in the year. But then Carnival, they've come out with this statistic. I showed you the infographic last week. Well, one of the things on the infographic they did not share is that in the 3 months that they've been cruising in the U.S., 3 months of the cruise restart, they've raised $295,000 for St. Jude in 3 months. So just a good news story. Just a reminder that there can be some benevolence when it comes to cruising. It's not just about people serving themselves and having a good time. It's about people being generous, and we see that playing out with Carnival. 3 months, close to $300,000 donation to St. Jude. And then that brings us to the final thing. How much did you guess that I tipped my room steward? Now, here's the funny thing for me. My faith system has generosity built into it, but talking about generosity is not one of those things, right? You're supposed to be generous and then get your reward at another time. So I feel a little weird about it, but I do think that it makes sense in this context because we're talking about what it means to go back cruising, and some people are just like, what are your standards for tipping? I don't know that my standards are the regular standards. I'm sure there's going to be people that are more generous than me, people that are going to be less generous than me, but my appeal would be this. This is a time, as you return to cruising, you are going to be interacting with people that had no job, no help from the government, that struggled to make ends meet for 18 months, supporting families back home in foreign nations with a lower quality of living sometimes than we have in the United States. And any little extra that you can give means a lot. I was on the Mariner of the Seas for 4 days. Moose was awesome. I tipped the guy $50 for 4 days. I don't know if that's little, if that's a lot, but that's what I tipped him. The other thing that I did is I played in the casino every night, and every session that I had, I did everything that I could to tip the dealers. Now, when you gamble, one of the fun ways to tip the dealers is to let them gamble with you. So you place a bet on the hard ways. If you're a craps player, you place an extra bet on the pass line, and through those sessions, and then I always give some at the end when I cash out. And through those sessions, I feel like that was another way that I was generous. Anytime somebody had me sign for a drink, even though there was already a gratuity or room service, I gave extra. I believe now is the time to give extra if you're blessed enough, if you're able to go, if you've worked hard enough, whatever way you ended up on a cruise ship. If you can put together an extra $100 to give out to people that haven't been working for 18 months, that's what I think you should do. That's me, though. That's my opinion. That's my personal appeal. And look, if you don't do that, no judgment on my part, but I'm just saying you're in a unique situation right now as somebody who's able to vacation, working with a lot of people that haven't had a chance to get paid in a long time. A little bit goes a long way. But $50 to answer the question from the comments, how much did I tip Moose? $50. In addition to, I paid all the gratuities that the cruise line asked me to pay. Boom, that's your cruise news. Leave a comment below. What do you normally tip? Do you not tip? We can have that conversation. Are you excited about international travelers coming to the U.S.? What do you think about all the cruise news? Thanks so much for checking out the show today. Please hit the like button, or your significant other is going to choose the Chex Mix over the Bugles when you really wanted the Chex Mix, but you thought she'd take the Bugles, and so, but you wanted to make sure that the Bugles were there because that's normally a road snack, and then you didn't get the Chex Mix. That could happen. So it's Tony with Lido Loca. Until the next time. We'll see you on the Lido. Bye.